Hello and welcome to part 2 and another episode of The Malik Show. I am your host, Malik Sullivan. I am so glad that you have decided to come on and be with us on tonight. Well. Part 1 of The Malik Show, Wednesday, June the 26th, we have did the BET Awards. Yes, we have saw an amazing show on this past Sunday. Again, great tributes, great performances, great fashion. But we are 5 days away from AIM 2019 of the Grand Old Church of God in Christ in Tampa, Florida. And might I say, it is going to be a time. But in the first segment of the show, of course, we have presented all of the speakers that will be speaking to us on next week. We have presented some other things that's going on. But for part 2, we want to talk about some things that will help the saints. But for part 2, of course, I have some throwback pictures I want to show you all of me with some of the saints from last year. We want to talk fashion on tonight. Yes, fashion. We're talking about that tonight. But before we get into all of that for part 2, here is kicking off for part 2, Malik's do's and don'ts. As we all know, ladies and gentlemen that is watching this telecast, AIM is AIM. For us Kojic folks, I mean, yes, there's the women's convention. You can't touch the Holy Convocation. That's in a class all by itself. But can I just say AIM is it's summer, and it's just AIM. I mean, I don't know how to put it, but a lot do happen at AIM. What happened at AIM? Well, let me tell you from my hereabouts and some things that should be quiet or unquiet. Let's reveal them on tonight. Now, here is the do's and the don'ts for the girls and for the boys, for the men and for the women. As you all know, AIM is AIM, but like I say, we can get a little wild sometime if you know what I mean. But here are the do's. Here is my personal of the do's. For one, I will say this to everybody. Do's. Well, let's just say this. Let's treat each other with kindness. I know that we could be some of the grandest folks in this church, and I'm not even going to talk about half of them because half of them can't even afford to get there, even if they could. Yes, I could be a little shady for part 2, but you know what? I'm just telling you some reality stuff. But the do's is please do be kind to one another because you don't want nobody to be diskind and nasty to you. So kicking off our do's, Malik's do's, be kind and be nice because you don't know how someone is doing, how someone is feeling. So again, kindness and loveliness will get you long ways. So that is kicking off the do's. Also, ladies, and gentlemen, as you all know, I, Malik Sullivan, is one of a kind, and fashion is my passion. And I will say this, we must dress accordingly in this convention. Yes, it is Tampa, Florida, and yes, we love to dress up in some of the finest pieces, the finest clothes in the whole entire world. But let us keep in mind, this is a AIM convention. I do have the uniform schedule for the music. I mean, the music saints, they know what to do, but us saints that is attending, we can get a little thrifty sometime, but might I just say, let's respect ourselves and our appearances accordingly. Let's dress accordingly. Let's not show too much, and let's just be in holiness. Yes, let's dress all the way up at night because, child, I personally am not trying to be dressed up in an 80, 90 degree weather. But anyway, yes, I mean, let's just enjoy. Let's just dress accordingly because you know Kojic will get you if you're at a place. Here's another do. Do go out and see Tampa, Florida. I feel Tampa, Florida is one of the best cities that we are returning to that is beautiful. The sights are wonderful. The weather is just crisp and grasp. And it's so many places to go and see. So let's just say this. Go out, enjoy yourself, still be in holiness, but at the same time, go out and enjoy what Tampa has to offer us on next week. Here's another do. Go to try and make every service that you possibly can. Yes, I know we got the morning manna, we got the morning services, we got the evening services, we got the late night musicals, we got Revival Fire, but try to make all of them, or at least most of them, because again, as I said in part one, we have some amazing, dynamic speakers that will be bringing forth the word, and I personally cannot wait to hear what they are going to bring to us on next week. Now, here are the don'ts. Now, as we all know, that AIM has been one of those conventions that in the hotel time, we can get a little wild. In the past, you know, especially my generation, the generation that's coming behind me, we're young, and yes, we like to have fun and do things too. But like I say, let's try and stay in holiness. But again, let's try not to break the hotel stuff. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I have heard many conversations of the saints tearing up the hotel rooms, jumping on the beds, and running all hours of the night, making noise, all that kind of stuff. I mean, we all know this. We're grown. We're not 2 or 3 or 4 years old. But again, let's be on our best behavior. Let's try and keep the peace in our hotel rooms because you don't want to get put out. Moving on to the don'ts. Now, here is the fashion part of the don'ts. Now, including myself, I am a 28-year-old good-looking, attractive young man, and might I say, I love fashion, and I just feel fashion pretty much brings out the more in you. I will say this to all of the fellas, especially those that's into serious fashion like me. Let's try and keep our suits tailored and not too tight. Let's try not to wear so much brightness. I mean, yes, this is AIM. We want to bring the red. We want to bring the yellow. We want to bring the green. We want to bring the orange. But let's try and keep it toned, and let's not do overboard. But, again, don't let our suits be too tight where we can't breathe in it. But anyway, and also for the grandpas out there, the older gentlemen and stuff, yes, let's not have our suit pants hanging, dragging past the floor, because let me tell you, them old deacons and brothers' suit pants be all the way down, and you have scuff marks going up the stairs and walking down, so you don't want to miss that. My ladies, I want all of my ladies to come in and talk to me. Ladies, I must say, in the Grand Old Church, yes, you love to dress up in the big hats and the fascinators and stuff. I love it. But ladies, might I say, try not to wear your hat too big, because some of us do want to see the service, and I would really hate to be behind somebody and say that hat's too big. Anyway, your clothes and stuff, ladies, well, I really can't say too much of anything about the Kojic ladies, because I feel they are some of the best dressed women on the face of this planet. But might I say, ladies, just do your thing. My only thing is, yes, you can wear a big hat, but just when you're sitting behind me, just move 2 or 3 seats down and we'll be just fine. But okay, I gave the do's and the don'ts for AIM, and it is what it is. So my next segment is Malik. What's going on at AIM? Well, here are what's happening on next week. Producer, let's see those flyers. Yes, we saw that. We're going to move on to the next. Yep. Well, as you saw for part one, these are our speakers. You saw that for part one. Let's move on to the next. Yes. Let's start with one of the best departments in the Church of God in Christ, evangelism, under the great leadership of Bishop Elijah Hankerson and Dr. Dorinda Clark Cole. This is Preacherama. Preacherama is next Tuesday, right after the main service. And we have some great lineup of preachers that will be preaching to us on next Tuesday night, which is Preacher-Rama. And might I say, Preacher-Rama just gets you kind of pumped up for, let's move on to the next one. Well, that's midday worship. We're still in evangelism. That's midday worship, and as we all know, here is our speakers for evangelism for the midday. Superintendent Arthur Mosley, Cathedral of Faith, Atlanta, Georgia, next Tuesday. Bishop Hankerson will be speaking to us on Wednesday, Bishop Vincent Matthews on Thursday, and Dr. Dorinda Clark Cole on Friday. Next. Yes! Revival Fire, the best. And I'm going to say this, and I don't care who gets mad or who gets an attitude. Yes, Malik Shabazz Sullivan said it. The best place to be after the late night, you know the place is going to be packed. Revival Fire 2019 kicks off next Wednesday, next Thursday, and next Friday. And we got some amazing speakers on next week for Revival Fire, which is right after main service. Let me say, Pastor Robbins is doing an amazing job coordinating Revival Fire, and my hat goes off to him. Brian Nelson, my friend and brother, Pastor Brian Nelson, the son of Betty Nelson, will be speaking to us Wednesday. Thursday, I do know of this, I can't pronounce her name. Please forgive me, sweetheart. And Friday night, the one and only New Jersey legend, Bishop himself, Bishop Anthony Gilliard, will close us out. And I'm telling you all, Revival Fire is going to be, like Aunt Dorinda said, the fire will burn. And trust me, yes, it will. Move on to the next one. The one and only prophetess Juanita Bynum is coming to us, and she will be with us on next Wednesday. And right here, as you see this flyer, we have Bishop Elijah Hankerson. We have my friend and brother, Prophet Gary Spreewell, now presiding bishop. But worship experience ministry training. You all need to come. It's going to be the free registration is gifted2019.com. And might I say, you get the words of wisdom, the gift of healing, prophecy, miracles, speaking in tongues. I think that's a good class. And prophetess Juanita Bynum, we all know her. Love you, girl. But she will be with us on next Wednesday. So y'all come on out and be at that class. You don't want to miss it. Moving on to our next one. On next Monday, July the 1st, which kicks off AIM, is the War Room Experience, which starts at 10 o'clock until midnight, which is right after service. And Sister Missionary Evangelist LaShawn Dillard Berry, the sister of our chairman, is the coordinator. And Pastor Kimberly Ray Gavin will be a part of that war room. You do not want to miss it. It's going to be right after church Monday night, so you don't want to miss it. Moving on to the next one. The My Convention. Tuesday morning, New York diva, evangelist Vandalyn Kennedy will be kicking us off. Wednesday, it's Chair Lady Joyce Rogers. Thursday, the one and only Jacqueline Carr. And Friday, we have Dr. Joel A. Trotman. I think I said his name. I hope I said his name correctly. But those are our speakers at 11 o'clock for the My Convention, Music and Youth, under the great leadership of Dr. Judith McAllister, Dr. Ben Stevens, Chair Lady Joyce Rogers. Moving on to the next one. This right here is Youth Church. All the youth will be at Youth Church, and we have some great speakers, and this is under the great leadership and ministry of my friend and brother, Pastor Paul Gatlin, and my other friend and brother, Dr. Marcus X. Golden, and they're doing an amazing job with Youth Church. That's going to be happening starting on next week as well. Moving on to our next event. The musical, the 4th of July Power Fest musical, and one of my greatest friends and brother, Ricky Dillard, will be in the house. Jacqueline Carr will be live, and Tiffany Boone will be live. And this is under the great leadership of Dr. Judith Christie McAllister, our music department president. And is next Thursday, July the 4th at 11 o'clock. So, saints, let's be supportive. We got two options to where to go. We got Revival Fire and we got the late night musical. So there you have it. But this right here is going to be an awesome musical on next Thursday night. Moving on to our next event. Well, that is pretty much all of what's happening on next week. I know it's plenty more, but those of you that's going to AIM on next week, please register. Please register so you will know everything of what's going on all of next week. Well, we're 12 minutes into this second segment. Now we, at this time, are going to bring on one of my favorite parts, and I love this. I so love this. Fashion, fashion, fashion. Yes, everybody wants to know who's going to wear what. Let's just be honest. Let's just be honest. Of course, God is number one, but for real, Kojic Saints, let's be real. We're going for a fashion show. We want to be seen. We want to walk that runway. We want people to see what we have on. So let's talk about it. But right now is Malik's favorites from the past AIMs from then until now. Let's go on, producer. Producer is going to scroll through pictures. These are pictures with me with some great friends. Let's go back. I want to get this out the way. That's me and the one and only, I call him one of my Kojic uncles, Douglas Miller. Let's move on to our next one. This is me and our chairman, Bishop Linwood Dillard. Let's move on to the next one. One of my bishop friends from Memphis, Bishop William Wright. Move on to the next one. Trustee, great friend, brother of mine, Chucky is what I call him, but Bishop Charles Patterson. The Sunday school diva lady, my friend, Supervisor Vanessa Winbush Gatlin. Next one, my friend and sister, Supervisor Diane Bogan. Me and the Shelbys, the Shelby five parents, Bishop Don and Lady Benita. My friend and brother, New York's own Pastor Vincent Bohannon. Next one, our general mother, the one and only Dr. Barbara McCoo Lewis. Me and only God can do it, Renee Winston. The one and only, my friend and brother, Bishop John Drew Sheard II. Moving on to the next one. The Gospel Rose herself, the one and only, Dr. Dorinda Grace Clark Cole. And last but not least, again, Bishop Carlos Moody. That was the last time Bishop was at a AIM, which was last year, as again he transitioned. But Bishop is forever in our hearts. Tonight's Malik show is also going to be dedicated to Bishop Moody in his memory, and we are going to miss him at our national conventions, whether it's at a women's convention, whether it's at AIM convention, or whether it's at the Holy Convocation. Bishop Moody, you are definitely was a great man of God. Your spirit still lives on, and tonight, sir, you are being honored on my show. Let's move on to the next segment. Bishop Moody, Mary, great man of God. Well, I'm glad I got that out the way because I'd like to take my time on this next segment. Let's move on. Well, Kojic fashions, but again, these are some of the best looks in the Church of God in Christ. And might I say, fashion is my passion. And let's just say that on tonight, kicking off our AIM fashions is the diva herself from Atlanta, Georgia, Lady Chastity Todd. Lady Todd is decked out in this beautiful affair, and she is kicking off our AIM fashions on tonight. Moving on to our next one. Sir Bob King out of Baltimore, Maryland. He took this last year in Indianapolis. I mean, brother, as long as I've been knowing him, has been one of the flyest dressers of this generation's time. So Bob King is our fashion AIM choice on tonight. Moving on to our next one. My friend and brother from Buffalo, New York, Sir Jameer Hennigan. This is a great red, white, and blue affair, and he's also one of the classy dressers. He's not going to put too much out there, but he'll give you what he got. Let's move on to our next one. This right here is the granddaughter of our general supervisor, one of my dear friends, Lady Shannon Lewis. And again, Shannon is just one of those unique ladies that will give it to you, but she's going to do it in her way. She's not going to give you too much, but she'll give you, and you better be ready for it. Shannon, I love this affair, and kudos to you. Let's move on to our next one. This right here is the First Lady of AIM, my dear sister, Lady Stephanie Marie Dillard, and she is decked out in this orange. And might I just say, she wore this last year at AIM, and she just looked absolutely beautiful. Let's move on to our next one. Pause. I have to say this about my sister here. I just love my sister right here, Virginia's own Queen, the Glamazon herself, Lady Ashley Hash. Let me just tell y'all something about, I just got to take time for certain people, because certain people they just gonna give it to you whether you like it or not. Ashley is just one of those women that is just full of grace, poise, and style. Her spirit is beautiful. And like I say, you got some women that got some of the nastiest attitudes and be dressed all the way up, but not this queen right here. Beautiful spirit, always put together, and will come through. Let's move on to our next one. My New York sister, Lady Natalia Cables, and she's from New York. She go to Bishop Hezekiah Walker's church, and she was in the building last year, but she looks beautiful in this white with her cheetah heels. Love you, sister. You look great. Move on to our next one. This guy right here is one of my greatest friends and brother, Sir Terrell Carroll. Terrell is kind of like, let's just say this, in the male department, in the male fashion. Terrell and I serve, we're going to say this is your department. But me and Terrell, and I'm sure there are others, but like I say, this is one of the guys that's just going to, bam, just bring it to you out of nowhere. I'm like that too. But this one right here, he is going to give it to you, and he's going to just raise on up in there and say, here I am. But Terrell is sharp, always sharp, and I look forward to seeing his fashions on next week. Let's move on to our next segment. Well, there you go. There is the one and only Malik Shabazz Sullivan, and yes, that was my favorite AIM fashions from last year. And oh, Jesus Christ, I am scared to bring out next week. I'm scared for next week. Moving on to our next one. This is my supervisor. This is my supervisor, Supervisor Dominique Moore, Memphis, Tennessee. And might I say, Dominique is one of the top women that is class, grace, poise, and style, beautiful spirit, and just so sweet. You just got some women that's just so sweet, like they don't got no mean streak in them. But Dominique, always beautiful, always classy. Ladies and gentlemen, Dominique Moore. Let's move on to our next one. Lady J. Bella Gibbs, Houston, Texas. She wore this affair on last year. And might I say, Lady Bella is one of the classiest women, the classiest lady dressers of our generation. And might I say, I look forward to seeing her fashions on next week. Let's move on to our next one. This right here is Lady Richardson. I can't get her first name. I believe she's from Atlanta. But she is dressed on official night, and it's all black. No, wait, oh boy, I almost said her name. I can't even think of it. But she's dressed, and she'll be dressed on next week. Let's move on to our next one. This right here is my friend and brother, stylist, Mr. California's own Sir Cedric Hanna. And might I say, he's clean, always clean, and always sharp. Let's move on to our next one. Sir Anthony Bullard, I'll say Mr. Atlanta himself, always sharp, Always well put together. And yes, he has joined and made it to our AIM Fashions on tonight. Moving on to our next one. Well, you know what? Let me just pause and say about this young man. Before I'll say there was a Mr. Church of God in Christ, I will say, and I personally will say this because I know I've been called that title, and I know well, they call me national now, but I'll just give that Mr. Coach to somebody else. But I personally want to give it up for Dr. Dustin Clarity. He is one of the greatest names in the Church of God in Christ, and also a unique dresser. Unique, you know. You got some people that's very unique and taste with their clothes and their style, but Dustin is always one that will come classy and uniqueness. So Dustin has made it to our AIM Fashions on tonight. Moving on to our next one. That's it. That's it. But again, we're 1 minute into our segment. But might I just say this? I personally am looking forward to AIM. Besides the fashion, besides the speakers and all the great things that is going to happen on next week, might I just say that God has yet blessed us to see one more AIM, despite of the things that is going on in our world, our economy, our White House. I'm going to just leave it right there. But anyway, God has favored us to see another AIM. Jesus could have cracked that sky at any time, but I am so blessed to be in the number just one more time. I look forward to the great fellowship, the great food, the great speakers, but most importantly, giving God just one more of my praise. Yes, I'm Malik Shabazz Sullivan. I thank God for being born and raised in this grand old Church of God in Christ. I thank God for being a church boy, and yes, I always have time for the church. You have time to do what you want to do, so let me have time to do what I want to do. I'm grown. But anyway, thank you all for watching the Malik Show on tonight. I pray my safe travels. I leave for this great meeting on Sunday morning, early Sunday morning. Y'all follow me on Facebook and Instagram for all the great captures, pictures, videos. Y'all know national. Y'all already know the routine with me. Yes, Malik Shabazz Sullivan, the one and only. There's only one. But again, I thank you all for watching. This has AIM 2009 Takeover. I'm Malik Shabazz Sullivan. I'll see you all in July.